for everyone joining us. We'll start out with our public hearing for the approval of budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. So I'll open up that public hearing. No questions or concerns on that, then I just close this public hearing. All right, we'll start with our call to the order.
Shaw.
Here.
Lewandowski.
Here.
Bickett.
Here.
Johnson. Ives.
Yeah.
Travis.
Here.
Lopez.
Okay, we'll start with our pledge to the flag. And since I see Austin wearing that flag mask, as Dr. McBride pointed out to us, why don't you lead us, Austin, in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. I think we already did the roll call, so we'll just go on to the National Merit Semi-Finalist recognition.
Good evening. It is my honor this evening to announce that Lockport Township High School has a National Merit Semi-Finalist. Before I read the resolution, I'd like to read an excerpt from the National Merit Scholarship Program to describe just how unique of an honor and distinction this is. Last spring, over 1.5 million juniors in about 21,000 high schools entered the 2021 National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the 2019 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, which served as an initial screen of program entrance. The nationwide pool of semifinalists, representing less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors, includes the highest scoring entrants in each state. This resolution is recognizing Austin Molitor for achieving the status of National Merit Semi-Finalist recognition. Whereas Austin Molitor, a current senior student at Lockport Township High School, District 205, has achieved the status of National Merit Semi-Finalist recognition by the National Merit Scholarship Program. Whereas Austin Molitor has brought honor and distinction to himself, his family, school, and community by achieving this respected status. Whereas Austin Molitor was aided and guided in this achievement by his parents, Daniel and Tracy Molitor, and Lockport Township High School teachers and guidance counselors. Now, therefore, be it resolved this 21st day of September 2020 by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Austin Molitor is hereby recognized of his status of National Merit Semi-Finalist recognition by the National Merit Scholarship Program. How about a round of applause for Austin? At this time, I'd like to have Austin come on up. I also want to recognize his parents who are here this evening and thank them for being here. I'm going to give you a little elbow bump there, buddy. Okay? And maybe we can take a picture. Is this okay? Okay. Here you go, Austin. Congratulations. Thank you for being here tonight. Maybe your parents would like to come up as well? Okay.
It's all good, it's all safe.
Just join Austin up there. Of course. Yeah, you guys are good. You can just filter right on up in here. Just find a space. Socially distanced, of course. You want me to jump in on these guys?
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right. And we have another recognition, and just maybe one last time, can we just congratulate Austin's parents?
Yes.
We know, we're, huge accomplishment. We know you're doing your homework at home, and we always hope that we're doing our homework here at school. So thank you for being your child's first teacher. Austin, what instrument do you play in Wind Symphony? All right, outstanding. So just for board members here in front of us, we've got Mr. Brian Covey, and then all of these students are members of our Wind Symphony. And one of the things that I've found over the years working with strong music programs is that when these music programs earn honors, like these guys were invited to perform at the international prestigious Midwest Clinic, which would stir you. I mean, I'm so sad that was canceled because of COVID, because it's an amazing, amazing experience. Puts the hair up on the back of your neck. They just tend to go on, and they go down to the field house, and they keep on performing. But a really amazing thing is that our Wind Symphony, under Mr. Covey's direction, and with so many of these students and their colleagues in Wind Symphony, entered into with the Foundation of Music Education, their National Mark of Excellence competition this year by submitting a recording of their performance. There were about 150 bands across the country that submitted. That was culled down to 50 and then finalized into about 20. One of the things that people might not know here, is anybody here from Texas? Texas is the epicenter of bands, especially wind bands. Obviously bands by definition are wind, in the United States. So when I learned that we won the National Mark of Excellence, I just had to competitively look back. And if you look down all the schools that won, it's Austin, Texas, Lantana, Texas, Keller, Texas, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, Red Rock, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Round Rock, Texas, Midlothian, Texas, and then all of a sudden, right in the middle of this long list of Texas, 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 Lockport, Illinois. So we just want to congratulate you. This is our Board of Education. So thank you, Mr. Covey. And then, just on behalf of our Board of Education, myself, my fellow administrators here, thank you for going out there and representing your families, your community, yourselves. And I think what will happen to you is, for those of you who are seniors, when you go off next year, you might just think this is the way things are everywhere, right? But you'll go off next year and you'll say, wow, I was part of something that was excellent. And you'll really know it. You'll know it by comparison. So thanks for contributing to it, because it wouldn't happen without an exceptional teacher and your commitment to your instrument. So thank you for making art.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you guys. Yeah. Hey, have a good practice, you guys. Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, student government report, there is none. AFT report, Ms. Karen Cooper.
I promise it's a lot shorter, so, yeah. Just a couple things I just wanted to share with you. Number one, some appreciation. Thank you for the flexibility. It has been phenomenal. I mean, I appreciate all of the accommodations that have been made, so I appreciate that flexibility, okay? I also wanted to share, I asked people, what are some things you want me to share? And we've been working on that remote schedule, so one of the things people wanted you to know about the remote schedule is how much they appreciated that time that was at the end of the day. And it was interesting, kind of sitting at lunch, and people were saying, I have never had this kind of time to commit to my kids and help them out. So I will tell you that it is being utilized, and people have been very thankful for that time. And I've heard a lot of positives about that piece. And then today started our hybrid learning, which of course It was lovely to see kids. I have no other way to put it. It was just a joy to have them in the classroom. And again, they've done a nice job of trying to make accommodations where you feel that you're safe in the building. It seemed to go rather smoothly. So again, just really appreciation for the plan that has been put in place, the thoughtfulness, the flexibility. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Karen.
All right, IASB Governing Board, in absence of Ms. Johnson, do we have anything other than those board resolutions?
Yeah, the only thing I would draw to the attention of board members, in your last board update, I put a link, are all the resolutions that we usually, there's a session that is voted on at the III conference. Ultimately, that'll take place in November. It'll be online. And what we'll do is in October or the November meeting before then, we'll have an opportunity to discuss those resolutions, for Mrs. Johnson to share, the ballot, how she would vote. So if you could just take a look at those,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah, do we need to register for that? I thought I read somewhere where we need to register for that.
I will take a look. I think Kathy Maxwell and I need to catch up on if they're doing it online.
Okay.
The last I saw, they were not, but let me double check because so many things have been canceled and been, placed online. So we'll find that out
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
You bet.
All right, thank you. All right, Foundation Board report.
Yeah, hi. Not a lot to report right now. We did start in August, the first Tuesday of the month. We started our monthly meetings in September. Unfortunately, due to the COVID times that we're in, it's going to significantly impact, what the foundation's capabilities are for organizing any type of events and things like that for the coming months. So we're kind of looking at a reorganization, some restructuring, and expanding in other ways we haven't expanded before, like the Alumni Association and stuff like that. So there'll be, actually, I believe, Dr. McBride, there'll be some further discussion in closed session on it. Okay. So, but it's, we're gonna have to make some changes, and we know it, and people are actively giving some very good ideas. So we're working towards that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dick. All right, legislative report.
Most of these items aren't directly related to the state legislator, but have something to do with the governor or law or someone who governs us. Just first off, you might see there have been, Mrs. Bickus and I were talking earlier this evening, protests to reopen schools. I attended one in Wheaton, my own town, just to see what it was all about. But that's moved to a movement called Let Us Play. And that movement is beseeching the governor and the IHSA to play football, volleyball, and boys soccer this fall. Definitively, the governor closed the door on that because the Illinois Department of Public Health is not recommending that those three sports play as contact sports. Probably seeing that, we are in the United States of America, so football has some importance. There are conferences that canceled their football, they're back on, like the Big Ten. And so you do have a dynamic, particularly with football, with a number of athletes going out of state to play, particularly Iowa and Indiana, if they believe that they have scholarship possibility. So that is something that athletes are advocating for. So right now, those three sports are scheduled to begin in February. February 15th to May 2nd would be the spring season. So if you like high school football, bring your parka. Dr. Green and I are always cold. We're going to be colder. Will County CARES Act. Will County also had a portion of the CARES Act. That's federal money as a stimulus for the economy in the times that we're in, although not required because we also, school entities, received CARES Act money in a grant called ESSER. And we have been using that ESSER money to pay for unintended expenses related to COVID. Will County has decided to allocate some of that money to schools as well. So they are, in essence, going to allocate a reimbursement of $20 per student, which would be, with our student count, roughly about $78,000. We're going to get some more information on that. We have some ideas about paying for PPE, paying for, we did, our fully online school. We use Apex, and the board was kind enough to pay for the tuitions and the staffing for that. but that CARES money might be able to ameliorate those costs as well. Just in local government, Janine Wheeler and I have spent some time trying to partner with our local municipal governments. I'm not making a political statement, but it is interesting that we just on Friday, last week, Will County left orange and is back into blue, back into phase 4. The numbers over the past 2 weeks came down dramatically in Will County, and really, Janine Wheeler and I were meeting with mayors, trying to have similar messages. You know, is there a way that we could have a message of safety and safe protocols and being safe in the community? We all know that what's in the community walks right into the schoolhouse. I was really pleased on September 15th, Lockport Mayor Steve Straight did his state of the city address. It was very complimentary to what we're doing as a school and what we're achieving as a district and an entity in Lockport. So that was a nice partnership. Two things that just also came in, just to make board members aware. Today we received a memo from the State Superintendent for Education, the Illinois State Board of Education, about teacher evaluation. And this has been hotly tossed. We have a committee that's governed by state school code. It's our para committee. Mrs. Cooper, Tony Kandari work on that, and made a decision really to move forward with teacher evaluation. I think it really speaks to, one, the culture of evaluation here is not a culture of capriciousness or punitiveness. It's a culture of coaching and a culture of feedback. To move forward, the state took a stance today that districts that choose not to evaluate this year will not be penalized. We just feel that it's important to move forward with doing summative ratings of our teachers and doing that. And I think that I would agree that that's the right thing to do, especially since we have a whole half of our staff that we evaluated last year. And to leave staff this year just unevaluated would kind of leave them out of sync with our evaluation process. So we have a strong process, we have a strong partnership, but there are districts that are just waiving entirely the evaluation process for the whole year. And there was some concern that they would be penalized for violating state school code. And then also we received a request from the public universities today. There's a great concern, I know this, teaching at North Central myself. Many school districts are telling teacher preparation programs that they will not take student teachers at all. And so we received a letter from the I think 9, 10 public universities, spearheaded by the University of Illinois, asking us to take teachers, because without student teaching this year, those teachers would not be able to get their license. And I think there's an obvious existential thing for us as school districts. We're in a teacher shortage and probably cannot afford a whole year of, right now, about 1,500 students are out there in Illinois seeking an Illinois license. We need them. So that is my update.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. McBride. All right, communications.
Okay, we have some messages that we've received. This first one's from an LTHS student and a swim and dive team member, Sophia Reyes. She says, "My name is Sophia Reyes and I'm part of the Lockport Township High School varsity swim team. Today, September 3rd, was my first ever high school swim meet, and I couldn't help but think how fortunate and lucky I am to have this incredible opportunity. When I received the news that I was capable of having the slightest bit of normality in this unprecedented time, I was overcome with joy and relief. I cannot thank you enough to have this amazing opportunity and having just one slightly normal event. I understand that every meet has the potential to be the last, but positivity and hope is the only thing giving my freshman swim season a chance. That being said, thank you for giving me the best socially distanced experience so far this year." Then we have another one from another swim and dive team member, Erin Sabota. She says, "Hello, my name is Erin. I'm a freshman at LTHS and I am a member of the girls Lockport varsity swim and dive team. As you may already know, we had our first official meet last night. I greatly appreciate everything you did to make that happen. With what is going on in the world right now, I was not even sure that we would get a swim season. I am beyond thankful to have not only the season, but also competition." This is from a parent, Mike Sullivan, on our successful SAT test on Saturday, August 29th for 300 students. "I wanted to say thank you for whatever extra effort you and your staff put in to host the SAT today. It was a long week watching other testing locations cancel up through last evening. I don't think Haley has ever been this excited to have been given the chance to take a test. Thank you for always putting our kids' safety and futures first." And then our last one is from a parent, Mark Fontanetta. about our special education department. I want to bring your attention to your amazing special education department. The entire team has thought of everything for my daughter to be successful this year with hybrid and remote learning. We had our IEP meeting on Tuesday of this past week. During the meeting, we had discussed how Ellie would benefit from having 2 computer screens, one on the Chromebook and one external monitor. Mr. Oster, without hesitation, said, "I think we can do that," and then he said, "Let me go check it right now." Not even 3 minutes later, he said the monitor would be ready for us to pick up later that day. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you have those, their freedom of information requests, and they have been fulfilled. Okay. All right. Public comments. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments on topics listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the agenda item they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for any necessary board follow-up, and there is none. Okay. Okay, next, we have the approval of our regular meeting minutes of August 17, 2020. And I'll probably combine the approval also of the closed session meeting minutes of August 17th. I'll combine those together. You just need a motion for that? It's been motioned by Dr. Shawn, seconded by Mr. Ives. Are there any questions or concerns? All right, hearing none. Roll call.
Travis?
I'm being here, I'll stay.
Yeah, can you vote on mine and then I have to call it? Your yay?
Abstain.
Oh,
Abstain.
Ives? Johnson? Lewandowski?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. Okay, next we have the approval of the special meeting minutes of September 12th, 2020. Just need a motion for that?
So moved.
And I can second that. So it's been motioned by Dr. Shawn, second by Lopez Caniva. Any questions or concerns? Or questions on those? All right. Hearing none, roll call.
Vickers?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Travis?
Stay.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Ives?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. Next, I'll have the approval of the board member expenses for September 2020, and I believe there's just one item there. Just need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned by Dr. Shawn, seconded by Mr. Ives. All right, any questions? All right, roll call.
Vickers?
Yes.
Travis? Lewandowski?
Yes.
Ives?
Yes.
Johnson? Shaw?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. All right, next I need just the approval of the treasurer's report for August 2020.
So moved.
I can second that. All right, it's been motioned by Dr. Shawn, and seconded by Lopez Caniva. Are there any questions to that treasurer's report? All right. All right, roll call.
Ives?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Travis? Vickers?
Yes.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. All right, next we going into a superintendent update.
You bet. A couple fun things just to, celebrate here. First, let's celebrate Tony Kandari's birthday. And you don't usually do that at a board meeting, but, give him a big round of applause. And rather than doing some nice thing on his birthday, he's having even a better time with us. But I think if you're HR director these days, there's probably never been a time like this for HR directors. And Mr. Kandari's been superb and on it and, helpful and thoughtful and informed. So I always say, I'm glad you were born, but I'm especially glad you were born. So congratulations, Tony, on being born. Also, sometimes there's awards and recognitions of board members, too. So we just got this afternoon, what the public might not know is that board members have to do ongoing professional development as well. In order to stay current, take courses. It's not a static, you get elected and you're all set. So we just received from the Illinois Association of School Boards this afternoon that Luann Johnson, who could not make it tonight, who's ill, re-achieved a master board status. She maintained it with her education. But I have two wonderful lapel pins that I will deliver to our board president, Ann Lopez-Caniva, and our board secretary, Dr. Veronica Shaw, who have achieved master board member status. So congratulations to them. Let's give them a big round of applause. Also, something that's hot off the press is every year, I'll remind board members of this, but every year our special education services are rated by the state of Illinois. And it's one of the rare things that you pop out one service at a public institution for a special rating. Usually the whole institution is rated by the school report card. But the reason why special education is rated separately is because it falls under the Office of Civil Rights. And so the examination of how special education students are treated is a federal matter of civil rights. So you'll see in your folder, for the 8th year in a row, Dr. Huntington and her staff were rated Tier 1, which is the highest rating that you can receive in the state. And it is not easy. Special education these days in the field of education is where you find lawyers and advocates and complaints to ISBE and to the Office of Civil Rights, because there's a lot on the line. These are our most fragile students, parents who have their whole lives been advocating for their children. So without someone like Dr. Huntington and Mr. Oster at the helm and an amazing staff of faculty and parapros who solve humanely, clearly, kindly problems at the local level, we wouldn't have a Tier 1 rating. That's just all there is to it. It's very easy to lose that rating. So congratulations, Dr. Huntington. That's a huge deal. Yeah. On a more somber note, we had 2 deaths last week. 2 really important deaths. The first, it's always an impact when you have a student who passes away. And I was at the services for Juliet Herrera on Sunday, and it's hard to see that kind of parent grief. And it was very hard also to see the impact on some of our staff members who worked with her, and on the Fairmont staff members who worked very closely with her. She was a freshman. And I don't think any parent, when they say, yes, you can go to your friend's house in Michigan, thinks that 2 girls will go out swimming and only 1 girl will come back. So I just wanted to acknowledge Juliet's life. I want to thank Dr. Huntington and Dr. Green and our social workers and our staff for handling that with the kind of grace that comes with grief as well. A very difficult thing to encounter. My heart just breaks for Juliet's parents, and they were disconsolate, as you would imagine, as we all would be. So I just want to acknowledge that. But also Friday night we had the passing of a great American, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I think it's just so appropriate to acknowledge her passing in a setting like this. I'm the father of 2 young women, and how more symbolic could it be for someone whose life was really dedicated to equality, but particularly gender equality. It is, I think, hard for a lot of us to imagine a world where women do not have the same standing as Justice Ginsburg said. Women belong everywhere where decisions are made. And I know we have a long way to go. I'm not saying that we don't. But what more symbolism can you take in this room than, to the left of me we have a woman board president, to the right of me female vice president, 2 board members who are women, secretary Dr. Shaw, a woman leader of our union, behind me chief school business official that for a long time was the province only of men, special education director, assistant superintendent, director of communications, and principal. So I think that speaks to the contribution that many have made to the idea that women do belong everywhere where decisions are made, and thank goodness. So my head is off to Lieutenant Ginsburg and to all of the women leaders in this room. Thanks so much. Returning in-person learning. We did it today. We came in. I'll kind of maybe open it up to board members if there's questions for all of us. This is one of those things where we say, it was a success, and we'll all kind of wait to find out if it's a success, right, with COVID-19. It's a good thing, I think, that the numbers have dropped so precipitously in Will County and in the zip codes that we serve. I look at both of those things. Our present plan right now, in order to have success, in order to be cautious, is to be in this week and then to take 2 more weeks remote to assess, do we have an outbreak, do we have infections, do we have illness? I don't think that there's probably a person in this room who doesn't kind of feel like, it was great today, let's go for it, right? Let's kind of keep on. So I think, I am certainly struggling with being cautious, but my eye is on the whole school year, because I really believe that we are going to be with COVID this whole school year. And my greatest concern is I don't want anything to happen right now that damages the confidence that our staff has, that our administration have, that our parents have, that we can actually do this thing, because we're dealing with something that we don't know the results of our actions until 5 to 7 days after we take those actions. So I'd probably sit here reluctantly, recommending to the board that we do take a pause for safety, for caution, and then put a string together of hybrid learning days. As positive as today was, we don't fully know the results on anybody. So maybe just open that up to for questions or comments from my colleagues. But I think over under a very successful day, and it's clear that this is becoming part of the lives of students. I have to be honest, I met with a group of freshmen whose bus was late, and I was introducing myself and chit-chatting and said, I'm going to talk to the Board of Education tonight. Is there anything you want me to share? And you can probably script it. They just want to be in school. And one young woman was very eloquent about waking up, having a routine, getting on the bus, going to school. And she said, I need that. And I am very concerned about a year of kids behind their computer screens. I was in a health briefing today. Mental health facilities that serve youth are full. And substance abuse and suicide rate is up across the country among ages 15 to 19. And that's a reason to be concerned, because it's stressful enough to be dealing with this pandemic. So let me just maybe open it up to board members. Questions for me or thoughts, concerns?
No, as a matter of fact, I was talking to one parent last night, and I guess her daughter was coming in to school today, and she said she was very happy, to have the kids come back, and she said her daughter was just like on the first day of school, just like couldn't wait to get back into the school, back into the routine. So yes, but.
And I also think that's a tribute to our teachers, because if that enthusiasm wasn't felt in the remote world, right? I mean, then I don't think our students would see coming back to school, bless you, as anything but just, coming back to school.
So I think your comments are right about the mental health of our students. Right before I came, I was watching Channel 2 News, and they had a huge segment on the mental health of our students and getting, like as we were discussing, getting our students back into school. So, I know we have eyes and ears of our staff, administration, and these two over here, I know they're over here, watching our students every moment. So we should have some comfort in that. And our students feel comfortable coming forward to our teachers too. So I'm thankful for that. I really am.
It was a good day. Anything anybody wants to add? Dr. Green, Dr. Ian, I know you'll do your report. I don't want to steal your thunder. Anybody, Mr. Bartley? Just anyone?
It was a great day, and it was. The kids it was like they were first day of school again. There was excitement, yet they knew their teachers. It was kind of ironic. They knew their teachers, and they knew the order that they went in, but they couldn't remember the room numbers, because they were so used to, they're, asking me, do you know where Mrs. So-and-so is? And I'm like, okay, but what room are you in? I don't know what's biology. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go up to this floor over here. But they were excited. you know, they couldn't wait to get in the building. And it's ironic because when you only have half of the kids in, it doesn't seem like you have many there at all. But yet, you know, we'll talk about it later, but our attendance was great. And it was just a great connection for the teachers and for the kids to see each other. And then also a lot of the teachers commented that it was a great academic check as well. You know, because there's only so much you can get through a screen, but actually when you're watching the kids work math, I was talking to a group of math teachers, when you're actually watching kids work through problems in person, you really get a sense of where they're at academically. So it was a great check-in for the teachers as well. So, success.
Yeah, very much so. And I also think there's a success that we should note, something that Mrs. Cooper brought up. She said two things, you know, at lunch. You know, the way that we devise our schedule, and I've had a concern as an educator for a long time that we've just been rushing, you know, just rushing. And there's been a lot documented on more, better, faster, harder for students, and more, better, faster, harder for teachers. And what's interesting is people are eating lunch together. Like, I'm observing people actually sit down, because I will tell you, last year, my first year here was no different than the past 10 years, where I see people grabbing their lunch, taking it back to their desk, and then getting back to work. And I think there's something inherently humane and human about colleagues eating lunch together. And then also the idea that we're making space and place both for teachers to think and prepare their craft, but also for students to catch their breaths and connect with their teachers in times that are not structured around a class. So it's something for all of us just to keep our eyes on, I think. There's some good things that are coming out. A few other things for the board. A note just about student fees. That was a high priority. The board asked us last year. We have a very fair fee system. It's a flat fee that gains you access to everything that we do. Athletics, activities, your Chromebook, you name it. And we really set out, there's a chart that's attached. You know, kudos to Mrs. Croy and our principals. We really set out because we tried to handle the first issue of maybe just reminding people. Sometimes it's easy to forget. Sometimes you think you've taken care of everything, but I think in the chart that I sent you can really see, even though we have economic hardship going on right now, our collections in July and August at Welcome Back Days and at freshman orientation, just when you had a human being that kind of met with you, our business office personnel, Mary Johnson, over here at East Campus, who was at both buildings, you just have a human being who says, hey, have you paid that student fee yet? In a polite and a kind way. And then if the answer is no, hey, can we maybe set you up with a payment plan, or can you do that today? Really takes advantage of that. And we found just most parents needed a reminder. Well, some were surprised, oh gosh, you know, I got that email, I forgot to do that. So that is an improvement, and we want to do some more improvement. And speaking of improvement, community service, I want to follow up with the board. I know the board was concerned last year, you waived the community service requirement for the class of 2020, but you were emphatic that that was a one-time pass. And what we're trying to do is avoid what's become kind of a tradition of a rush at the end. So right now we have 714 seniors who have not logged any community service hours. So we'll be getting at that now so that they start chipping away at those 40 and are not doing it just in March and April. Really outstanding thing, Mrs. Cristofero is going to work with our guidance department through a grant from Fiscal. We're going to purchase a utility called Transio, which allows students across their 4 years to log their community service hours. A little bit more efficient for our registrars, a little bit more efficient for them, and a little bit more accountable, because really the idea is 10 hours a year. What we really want to see, I believe the board wants to see, is seniors who've already come in with 30 hours, and I think the intent behind what you're doing is you have already committed as a high school student to be a person of the community, rather than it's just something you do in your last year. Like any graduation requirement, we should be monitoring it as it goes by. So, as the years go by. So that's,
What do we, I mean, this year's seniors, who are obviously last year's juniors, and it's, I mean, it impacts all of them. Last year, it impacted them last year. Yes, we said the seniors didn't have to do it, but the juniors, freshmen, and sophomores lost 3 or 4 months of opportunity to do it. So that, you know, they're behind as well. I'm a little surprised we have 700 plus that haven't done anything. in
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, and I think the surprise, Dick, my research is that is not a surprise. That, you know, I think right now, I think the focus is on education and remediating that and addressing that, and owning that, you know, owning that it's the will of the board, that it should be 10 every year, and just like we sit down with students and we say, hey, you don't have enough math credit, or you don't have your US history, we're gonna have to make that a high priority if it's a high priority to you. I think we can catch up, but you're absolutely right, we can't catch up if we continue on a pattern where seniors get to senior year and 3/4 of them have not satisfied this graduation requirement. If I told you that 3/4 of our seniors haven't taken US history, we would all panic because they couldn't get a diploma in the state of Illinois, right?
You said earlier that we're gonna, you know, COVID's gonna be the theme all this year. Should we reduce the number of hours for this year?
I would not recommend that, and the reason why is because I still think there's enough time and there's enough going on. There's enough of this going on.
Yeah.
You know, people are every kind of organization is finding ways that you can participate, that you can be involved, that you can be engaged, you can use a mask, you can socially distance. We're doing that with athletics, right?
But, I mean, a lot of, like the Interact Club, that was all community-based. They can't do that now.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if we've looked into that deep enough. I just don't know. But I would not back away from that. I think, you know, that if the board backs away from that you're gonna find that's gonna be, it's gonna be hard to explain, because here's what will be hard to explain is, you know, valuing community service or not. You know, is it a value or not? And I definitely think that unlike last year where COVID came in, the seniors were very used to in March and April rushing and getting it done. They couldn't, because we were actually in lockdown, and we're not in lockdown anymore. And so I think, you know, the message I would recommend, it's really your graduation requirements, so it's up to you. But I would recommend, you know, starting tomorrow, a message needs to go out. You need to take care of this. And then we need to build a system, so there's a short-term issue, and then there's a long-term issue of 10 every year, so that it doesn't snowball on you.
I mean, I think a piece of communication out to the parents too about how this is so important to the community and how it shapes them too, their character. You know, and what our school, you know, we have all of those posters around shaping their character and who they are to build their character. You know, and part of this is bringing them back to this community too. You know, so I think that they might find something that they're interested in when they go out there and volunteer for these other organizations.
And it doesn't have to be an organization. I mean, it can be just helping your neighbor, you know,
Right.
who's elderly, cut the grass. You know,
Correct.
rake leaves, you know, something in that aspect where you're helping, you know, a
They don't
neighbor
have to
person.
be part of a club.
Yeah.
Is Lockport Shield an approved,
Lockport Shield would, and part of Transio would be.
people have asked me, they
Yeah.
said, can I get community service by
Absolutely.
volunteering for Lockport
Yeah,
Shield?
that would be, and what Transio does is kind of like enroll Lockport Shield okay, they're a provider, and now you can log that you worked for Lockport Shield, and there's a verification. Makes it easier for the providers, makes it easier for the students to say, yep, you know, this person was there, click.
I'm just concerned, I mean, I could think the foundation, the funds, that we have all those volunteers, all those students. I can see us revisiting this conversation in the spring, saying, what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
We're all short.
absolutely, yeah. And if we come back, you know, we start working with guidance, we start investigating. I also think there are small things, like, for example, right now, we're doing a partnership with Kids Matter. Organization, Naperville, it's extending its footprint, it's done really interesting things. Next week, it's gonna survey our students, it's a non-for-profit. What's coming up is their virtual volunteer fair. And it would be smart of our guidance department, and I've attended that volunteer fair in person. It fills the field house at North Central College. But I asked the executive director, I said, I'm surprised you're having it, are there actual opportunities? And she said, you would be surprised at how many providers have gone online. And we're running it, you know, and that usually attracts an incredible, you know, amount of students. So that's one area where I think we should publicize. There's this volunteer fair online, with, you know, people who are looking for you to do things that can be done online or can be done in a safe way like we're meeting right now. And there's enough time to do it.
And I think the other thing, another big picture here is when it comes time for them to, you know, the foundation does such a nice job and with getting together, I think the guidance department too does a nice job getting together all of these scholarship awards. And if we have so few applicants, you know, my husband gives one out for Sertoma. They have so few applicants between here comparison to Lamont, and it's because what they ask for is, how are you gonna be a better student in your community? And we have so few applicants for that, and if you turn it around and say, I mean, I know the foundation has had few applicants, but if you turn it around and say, hey, you guys, there's free money out here.
Yeah, you
know,
just have to have that
20,
in your.
you know, you spend 40 hours and you're making $1,000, you know, maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for 9 hours of work writing essays and part of the essay is volunteer work, and that's looked upon highly by all of these participants in our scholarship programs that, you know, so.
No, for sure. And even further beyond, you know, we've talked to the foundation, talked to Bill Thompson about events like Feed the Need, where we as a district do an event that can enroll hundreds of students in earning, you know, volunteer hours. We haven't, you know, to the best of my knowledge, we haven't done district-wide events that allow, this is gonna be the volunteer site. You know, and who knows, you know, with COVID as we navigate it, those opportunities might change over the course of the year. So I think you're 100% right, Dick, that we're gonna have to revisit it for sure. You know, we'll see. But right now, giving you an update, and, you know, obviously it's your graduation requirement, so if it's a decision that you would make, but I would recommend to the board that the first step we take is working with guidance, accessing, you know, some of the resources that are out there, and really, to be quite honest, igniting a fire under our students. I see the community service hours maybe a little bit like our fee collection. Sometimes the consistency of a reminder does wonders at getting people moving towards a conclusion, right? So.
Very true. Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, next it's our consent agenda items. I just need a motion for the consent agenda items 1 through 7. Need a motion for that?
So
All right, I'll second that. Are there any questions on those consent agenda items? All right, it's been motioned by Dr. Shaw, seconded by Lopez Caniva. All right, roll call.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Ives,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next we have our action consideration, approval of our district goals. Just need a motion for that.
So
Second.
It's been motioned by Dr. Shaw and seconded by Mr. Travis. All right, first of all, thank you so much to all of you that really put in place for all those district goals. Thank you. All right, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Ives,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Next, we have the action approval of our budget for fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
And, you know, maybe just open that up to any kind of
Mhm.
session, you know,
Any
a lot of
questions?
congratulations to Stephanie Croy for, you know, shepherding this. You know, as you know, this is a whole process that really began almost at this time last year, you know, the lot of a chief school business official is the minute that you approve this, and Mrs. Croy works on the levy, she begins working on next year's budget, right? It's not like one is put to bed and she doesn't have to touch this till July, at all. I think this year was particularly challenging for 2 reasons. One you'll hear about a little bit later. One, when we gave you a draft in July, it was a draft, because there was so much uncertain about expenses that we would incur related to this pandemic. Some of those expenses, hiring new staff that we needed to hire in order to meet the challenge that we're under. And then also, Mrs. Croy was headlong with Mr. Gandari into changing over our human resources and business financial software, which has taken an amazing amount of time, just an incredible amount of time. Typically, you get a narrative budget. A third plank that I threw is a presentation by Jerome McKibben, giving Mrs. Croy some time to sort of soak that in, listen to those patterns. So all things being equal, the narrative piece, you'll see a little bit later in October. Our responsibility tonight is to approve a budget in September, so that we can move forward to the next stage, which is the tax levy, as everyone knows. So I don't know if you have any questions for Stephanie or Stephanie, anything that you want to add? One thing I'm particularly proud of that Mrs. Croy did, this was a great board member request, but it's a report called Changes in Both Revenue and Expenditures. So if you are interested in sort of the draft in July and then how we had to, between July and September, make changes, it's very detailed and very detailed notes, just sort of assiduous record keeping on her part of why we had to make certain staffing changes or expense changes.
That's right. Yes, thank you.
It was very well done.
It
So
was.
I only have one question, Steph, and it's on the very first page.
Okay.
Just talk to me about how we went from 20 million to 30 million on our final budget estimate for new property.
For new property, what does that impact?
Yeah,
Around-
Like, what are we looking at from going from 20 million to 30 million?
So, I guess I just wanna
Yeah.
make sure I understand your question. How does it impact us directly, or what is that coming from the community?
From the community.
I don't have the detail of that. I'm sure part of it is our Sitco agreement, because there's new property built into that. But I don't remember if there was any for 2019, to be honest. Maybe that's for the next year, but, I got that information late from the county. So the
Okay.
20 million estimate was just I gotta put some number in, and historically, we've been around, so I threw in 20 million.
Okay.
The 30 million number is coming right from the county.
It's coming from the county.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So
So right now, what the county's estimate that they gave me was 29 something.
okay.
So I put 30 million in
Yep,
to cover
gotcha.
anything
I
that might
understand
come.
why we do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
Mhm.
know that came from the county. Okay.
Correct, yes,
Alright,
it came
perfect.
directly from the Will County Assessor's
Okay,
Office.
great.
We have a really good, our Illinois ASBO group, Will County Illinois ASBO Regional Group,
Okay.
has a very good relationship with the Will County Assessor's Office, and every fall, she gives us the numbers.
That's nice.
So she runs reports, sends them to our Will County Regional Chair, and he distributes them. Sometimes we have them come to a meeting too, but because of the situation with COVID, we haven't had regular meetings. But yeah, that information usually comes in August from them,
Okay.
based on that
Good.
relationship. So that lets us build the budget, finalize the budget, start to build the levy, so.
Awesome, yeah.
okay.
I loved it. Everything I asked for. It's all in here.
I
So, and I
told
can
Dr.
follow things
McBride,
quickly.
I knew someone had asked about the changes, and I couldn't remember which one of you did, so.
Yeah.
So, so I spent the time going through what the changes were. Obviously, a lot of them had to do with COVID. You can see a lot of the responses are COVID-related. And then others are due to the hiring, the staffing that
Hiring,
we
the staffing.
previously, the board previously approved. So, I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. Okay.
Oh, I'm good.
And as Dr. McBride said, the intention is still to prepare that narrative and get that to you for the next month, okay?
I like that narrative.
Just
I
a
use it
reminder-
often.
and just a reminder for board members, please, have it signed, right? The
Yes,
Right, we need
Kathy,
everyone's
everyone has to,
signature
this is the one
tonight.
document a year that every board member needs to sign indicating their vote.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, I'll make the motion to approve the budget for fiscal year 2020, 2021. I just need a second. Is that Mr. Travis? All right. All right, it's been motioned and second. Roll call.
Vickers,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Ives,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next, if we have the approval of Press 104.
You saw these, this is a second and a final reading, not very complicated in terms of policy changes. Updates on Open Meetings Act to meet the COVID era that we're in, adding to our pandemic policy the word COVID-19, not just influenza, defining, non-public students who might enroll here part-time. Student behavior, we cannot have physical restraint as a punishment, or timeout rooms as a disciplinary punishment. Student records, just a change in our ability to more quickly send student records to a school where a child might be transferring to. And then we have to guarantee similar privacy rights. We have to make sure that any entity that we enter into business with, like Infinite Campus, for example, that has many details about a student, address, home, phone numbers, details, birth date, that is protected. Any questions? Right behind it's Press 105 next month, so, which deals with Title IX and is all Mr. Kandari, really.
All right, we just need a motion then to accept all these policies. All right, it's been motioned by Mr. Travis and second by Dr. Shaw. All right, roll call.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Ives,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Next, we have public comments not listed on the agenda. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments on topics not listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the topic they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for any necessary board follow-up, and there is none. Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have our principal's report.
We're gonna try to stay green in the park.
That's the unit of social distancing we try to use.
That's our
One
unit.
green in.
One green in a park. Like we said earlier, today was very exciting for us. We were thrilled to have the kids back in, and it was a great day. It was a great day for our staff, for our students. So we're looking forward to seeing the other half of the students come in tomorrow, and then have them back on Thursday and Friday. In our report, you saw that we had our first virtual curriculum night take place, where each teacher prepared a video presentation for each class that they had. And one of the nice things that we were able to do with this is we actually created a video library, and we got a lot of positive feedback from our parents, because we were able to have this video library up for 2 weeks. So parents that were not able to actually watch on the 6th were able to take time within the next 2 weeks to view each teacher and kind of go through, the curriculum, how their progress was going to be monitored, and what to do if a student needed additional help, which, as Karen talked about, that intervention time that we have has really been utilized and has been very successful for a lot of our kids. This would have been our homecoming week. It's very sad for us, because that is such a great tradition here at Lockport. So we have postponed homecoming. We're postponing homecoming and see what happens when football season does roll around, and see what we can actually do with the kids. But we wanted to promote some school spirit, so actually student government did have some dress-up days. So today was neon and tie-dye day. Tomorrow is favorite sports teams. As principals, we wanted to make it White Sox Day, but we're going to appreciate the opinion and views of others, and we'll just make it favorite sports teams day. Sorry, Bob. We had this discussion over text message, and John and I said, okay, we'll concede to have it be all sports teams.
Thank
And
you.
then Wednesday is Red, White, and Blue Day, and then Thursday and Friday promoting our school spirit with Porter Pride, Maroon and White. And then parent-teacher conferences, we are going to have our first virtual parent-teacher conferences, and that'll take place on October 8th. We'll have the same time frame, but Matt has actually done some research, and has a new program where we'll be able to set up Google Meetings with parents. So we're very excited about that. We'll be talking to our parents and our students within the next week and getting that information out as well.
Thanks, Carrie. On the athletic side of things, our fall sports season is going very well. Our student athletes are practicing and competing. We have boys and girls golf, boys and girls cross country. We have girls tennis and girls swimming and diving. We really need to thank Mike Dwyer, our director of athletics, and our building and grounds, the entire staff. We have been able to host a pre-conference meet for boys and girls cross country. We have hosted girls tennis. We have hosted a meet for swimming and diving. Just a huge thank you to the leadership of the athletic department, and also again to our building and grounds staff as they have prepared our facilities. Also a thank you to our coaches. It has given us the opportunity to practice health and safety guidelines. This is going back to the summer. It continues to give us confidence, which I think in turn gives us that confidence here at school to have our systems in place and to hopefully get the opportunity to have more in-person learning. As Dr. Shaw read earlier, a couple of very nice emails from some of our girls on the swimming and diving team. There were several of those girls who reached out to many of us, actually. And just for me personally, and I know Carrie as well, just one of those moments that you'll kind of tuck away in your mind, especially when you're having one of those rough days. As I encourage our staff to do, is when you get some of those nice emails or kind gestures, you tuck those away in the memory bank because you remember why you're doing this. And just to feel how appreciative the girls were to have the opportunity to swim in a meet, it just reinforces what we're doing. I think you wanted to say something.
No, I was just gonna say that those emails, we got probably a dozen emails from the kids, just showing their appreciation and us pushing through and making things happen for them, because these are things that they've worked for and they're very important to them.
Yeah. On the activities end of things, we are also excited that our clubs and activities are having virtual meetings. Our performing arts kids have been coming into the building, like athletics, again, building up those habits. If you have not had the opportunity yet, please go to the website and look under activities, as we are very excited to showcase our virtual activities fair, as we've been starting to promote a little bit to all of our students the opportunity to get involved. And all of our club sponsors have created a promotional video. It's on the website. A big thank you to Brian Lessner, and he worked very closely, I know, with Janine, Pat Dean, Eric Slager, a host of people who really helped promote this initiative, and we're really excited for it. So if you have the opportunity, go to the website and take a look at the great promotional videos that we have. Carrie touched on us postponing homecoming, but just great timing with our in-person attendance this week to have a Spirit Week, and really excited to see as the week progresses our students. So big thank you to student government, NHS, and to the class sponsors. We're also excited to have a movie night 1 week from tonight at Porter Stadium, where we are going to have the movie Jumanji, giving students the opportunity to be able to sit at Porter Stadium in a physically distant way. Of course, numbers will be limited, but just excited to have an opportunity for students here at school. And a big thank you to our newly formed Student Equity Action Committee, partnering with our Spanish National Honor Society. A big thank you to Kathy Pratt, one of our world language teachers, who started a nice opportunity to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. Having several of our staff members at both campuses have posters on their doors. We had students come in last week to do that. So it's a nice way, partnering our new Student Equity Action Committee with the Spanish National Honor Society to increase that appreciation and awareness of different cultures. And lastly, you could see the attendance summary. A big thank you to Matt Bartley for coming up with this report, and these numbers that you could see are very strong, as our attendance has been a very strong 97% with our full remote learning, and then that includes our shortened Wednesday schedule as well. Today we were going through the numbers and having conversations with Matt and Trish a little bit. There was just a little bit of a glitch in our Infinite Campus system, but we wanted to give you an idea that minimally we had a very strong 92 to 93%, maybe even a little bit higher of attendance today. So we were very, very happy to see the strong number of attendances. Obviously, we welcome students back.
And then right after our report, there's also the 6-day count. So if you take a look through those reports, you can see in this school year, we're up approximately 9 students from last year. So you see the numbers there for grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. So,
Any questions
yeah,
for
any
us?
questions for us?
I have one question. Do you think, or are you preparing for an influx of students into the athletics because they're seeing that the way they can get together with their peers is through sports and athletics and clubs?
I could say for one sport in particular, that tennis saw a
saw
huge
that.
increase.
That's why I'm asking. I saw that, and I'm like,
So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of that amongst some
Yeah.
other sports.
yeah.
I was surprised that we didn't have more of our athletes that played other fall sports join the ones that were going. Because we've had some of our coaches who, are coaching, some of them a fourth sport,
Right.
with the season differential. But for the most part, I think our kids will continue in the sports that they're in. But you know what? We'd welcome more kids to get involved.
Yeah.
Getting them connected, whether it be through sports or clubs. We'd love to get our kids, connected with all of our clubs. Brian Lessner did a fantastic job on this virtual fair. Trying to do as much as we possibly can to meet those social and emotional needs that we
Yeah.
know, the kids are struggling with.
It just might be what happens. So,
And Sue
all the
Kleppman does
better
a
for it.
phenomenal job of offering, other opportunities for our students to get in here, and utilize, the space that we have as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yes, moving on then to structural analysis of central campus.
Come on down, Mr. Thompson.
All right, Mr. Thompson.
As Mr. Thompson kind of takes the stage here, and I want to send this home to you because for some folks it's very difficult to see some of these maps and some of the photographs. Just to kind of preface, Bill starting out, we last year at a certain point, Bill and I were having a conversation that we hadn't had a structural analysis done of Central Campus since 2011. And I think that was precipitated by, we had some masonry work, we had some parapet work, we were talking about it, and felt that about every 10 years is a good time to revisit, especially a structure with the ages that Central is, and especially a structure that is a brick and mortar, a masonry and concrete construction in and of itself. So we really had a choice to do a very invasive, full tearing down walls, looking behind joists, or doing a visual inspection just to kind of start out to see what we had. So we worked with our architects, DLA, and who did hire a structural engineer over the summer to do a visual inspection, a very thorough one, of some of the structural issues that we're looking at. There are really three building issues, and tonight we're really talking about one. There's a structural issue, and the structural issue really at Central comes from this masonry and cement. And buildings like that have problems with water. Water wants to get in the cracks, water wants to go into concrete, water wants to expand joints, water wants to cause rust on the rebar that holds the concrete together. And then that rusts, and then the concrete flakes off of the rebar. So the primary issue at Central structurally is with moisture. And just we live in a climate where it can be minus 20 and it can be 105. So it's problematic. There are two other areas we keep our eyes on as well that are fairly significant, maybe even more significant. Major mechanical. If we have some of our major mechanical systems, some of which are as old as 70 years old. And then also life safety. For example, fire suppression, a sprinkler system, some doors, some stairways that need to be contained. So those are also off, on our mind as well. But really tonight we're gonna hear about the structural analysis and then really answer your questions about it. We really spent almost about 2.5, 3 hours walking the building, looking at every single picture you're looking at, asking questions, looking at cracks. I'll have you take it away,
Okay.
Mr. Thompson.
Back in the frame. Okay, so the report is basically broken up into 4 sections. So the first section is just a 1 or 2 page narrative, kind of explains the purpose of the report and what information we might be able to gather from it. The second part of the report is this map, SK1 to SK6. It has letters that correspond to the third part of the report, which is table 1 and 2, and what that is a short description of observations that they saw and repairs that they saw or areas of concern is how they mentioned it, that they wanted to look at. So, and then the last section of the report obviously is all the pictures that go along. So just to help make it a little bit easier, I put a one-page spreadsheet in your board books there, and I thought we would just kind of go over some of these items. I can explain a little bit, some of them in a little bit more detail. I think overall, the good news is Central structurally is in really, really good shape for its age. The inspector was out here, the engineer, structural engineer was out here in 2005, he was out here again in 2011, and now again in 2020. And so he's really got a pretty good handle on, you know, Central, the structural elements of Central, and overall, it really is in pretty good shape for its age. With that said, there's 30 things listed on this report, and there are some areas of concern that I wanted to go over. None of them are huge, massive projects where, you know, anything's imminent or anything like that. Most of them are very minor, really, you know, minor things. And again, what Dr. McBride said, you know, we're fighting age and we're fighting water infiltration. So I think that's where we really want to focus our money and our energy. So let me just start with A. If you want to just look at the spreadsheet here, a short summary. A, this is located in a utility tunnel under 130. And if you can look at the picture 6 to 9 here, you can just see the corrosion of that metal deck, which is really just a form, but underneath that deck is concrete and rebar, and you can see the rebar being rusted. And so what they do in this area here is they go in and they would measure the rebar to make sure it hasn't lost its integrity. They'd strip away all that metal. They would repair all that concrete, spray the rebar if it's sound with a rust inhibitor. And a lot of this stuff is going to be the same thing over and over again. And this area here, you know, we may have to shore up. So it does need a little bit more investigation going forward. But that's designation letter A, and that's a priority 2 level repair. B is something we all know about already. We have some sloping floors up in our 1909 section of the building with the wood framing section. There's something called wood creep, and you know, if you've walked up there, you can kind of feel it a little bit. So what we've been doing is nothing structural. It's all okay, but what we've been doing is putting flexible flooring in these rooms instead of VCT. A lot of VCT is cracking, so it's a little bit more expensive, but that we're doing maybe 3-5 rooms a year, doing the worst ones, and so we're taking care of that. C and D are again priority 4, priority 5 items, picture 10, 11, 13. These are not structural. It's just a minor stair-step crack in the pool locker room. You can see that in picture 10. And 11 to 13 is just really for our information that these posts are important. Do not remove these posts. Monitor the situation as they were put in at a later date to hold up some mechanical systems in these rooms. E, F, and G are kind of all kind of similar. They're priority 1 and 2 items. Again, it's spalled concrete and exposed rebar on the underside of the floor attic. This is a picture 14-15. You can see where they cored through the floor, and a lot of the concrete was chipped away and broken away over the year. You can see some exposed rebar. Also, you can see in F, it's where the actual, where the butt of the concrete, actually there's a joint in there where that's kind of, the concrete is fallen away. It's delaminated from the rebar. So all that needs to be further investigated. Most of it, again, it's not major repairs. It's just knocking away the loose concrete, seeing the integrity of the rebar. If it's good, they just spray it with a rust inhibitor, you know, put some repair mortar on the concrete, and, you know, structurally, it's fine. So Item E, F are very similar in the same area as that, and again, it's very similar repairs. G is an area where originally on the report, this is the biggest item that we looked at, there's a courtyard, in the courtyard, there's an attic under the drive in the courtyard. It's maybe about a 2-foot space that it's really not used, and the concern that the structural engineer has is that vehicles driving over this area, heavy vehicles may be, not the best thing to do. So we really don't drive vehicles over this area anymore. So we thought maybe a better use of our money, and I have checked with the engineer and architect about this, is that maybe we don't have to do this full fill-in area of the attic, and we could maybe use that money elsewhere on, some of the items. I have them in blue, and those are primarily priority 3 level items, and those are primarily keeping water out of the building items. So G, again, we're going to be looking at that more closely. We don't have the full scope of the project defined right now, but that's something I think that we can get away with, just making the repairs and putting a waterproof membrane over the cap of that area, and then we can monitor it. And if it does down the road, if it looks like, we do have to do something, we can always do the more expensive repair. Item H, again, is just, it's a tuck pointing issue, a little bit of water getting into the building. You can see through the pictures on 20 and 21, showing the evidence of that. Again, just a minor repair, which I would like to look at. There's many places where there's tuck pointing problems, where there's cracked, missing mortar, cracked brick. So this, I think, is a really good time for us to, that these are identifiable areas, and then we should probably try to attack all these at one time, I think, would be my recommendation. I, J, and K are all in the same area. In the 1951 section of the building, there's huge beams that are in the courtyard that support that structure. And there's just some minor cracking. There's some, if you can see on picture 22 to 26, you can see some cracking. You can see the stirrups being exposed to the weather, some delamination again, vertical cracking, horizontal cracking under the beam. And again, not major repairs, but, if it's not addressed, in a timely manner, these will, over time, become worse and worse. So again, not super expensive things to repair, and those 3 things kind of go together. L is in, it's a corrosion on the metal deck in the auditorium dressing room. Again, it looks like the source of the water is a parapet wall. This is a tuck pointing issue again. It may be a roof repair on the flashing of the inside of the parapet wall, but again, not a super expensive repair, but important, to keep water out of the building. If anybody has any questions while I'm going through this, just stop me and we can talk more about it. M, again, not structural. N, not structural, just some stair step cracking in the auditorium and some in rooms. Just something that we need to monitor and be aware of. O, again, is water coming in through parapet walls. This is a mortar problem again. This is number O. This is a priority 3. Again, important to keep the water out of the building. P is just really for our information. It's a beam that has appeared to move out of a pocket. It's priority 5. It's not structural. It's just something that the architect and engineer want us to monitor. That's page 37 or picture 37. Again, overall, this really was encouraging to me that there weren't so many, no huge issues. There are the other 2 parts that Bob talked about, mechanical and life safety, but structurally, Central is in remarkably good shape for its age. Q, this is something that is a priority 1. This is something that we did in 2005 and in 2011. What we do is they measure the gaps in the boards up in the attic, and then they see, they have the measurements from 2005, the measurements from 2011, and then again the measurements from 2020, and we can see since 2011 and 2020, there was no discernible movement in any of that wood framing there. There was one cracked board, just one cracked board, which my guys will be able to take care of, in the next coming weeks. So that's very encouraging for that section of the building. Again, in this is an area we cannot see, cannot get into, but there's no indication that there's any issues going on here either. There's some glass high ceilings in this area, and there's some glass panels actually above the ceiling tile from years ago, and there's no cracking in those glass panels. There's no sign of wear or movement or anything, so that's a really good indication that that's still in very good shape. Again, just a minor thing, just some welds and some cleaning up of some rust on the fire escapes. My staff will be able to take care of that for a minimal cost. T is from pictures 45 to 51. The engineer did a really good job identifying some areas that we missed. Every summer, we have a mason come through and visually inspect the whole building and spend at least a few days driving around in the lift looking for these types of things. So this is encouraging me that we have a number that we know that these are bad, that we can get these repaired next summer, and we have a list now that we can work off of. Leaning parapet wall, again, not structural, just something that we need to monitor. Picture 52 to 55, this is priority level 3. We'll be looking at the mortar in these areas, make sure it's all tight. V is a kind of a large stair-step crack in the auditorium wall. It's not real, it just protrudes out of the building. It's maybe 10, 15 feet long, but that's something that we would like to take care of sooner than later. Not a huge cost, but something that we're gonna have to install a scaffold on the roof to reach it. It's up on the auditorium wall. W is something that I'd like to address next year too. There was 12 window lentils that the engineer identified. We have replaced, probably last summer, we replaced 6 window lentils. Every year before that, we've replaced 2 or 3. They all don't need to be replaced. Sometimes you can just scrape them and get down to the good metal and spray them, and they're good to go. A lot of them, though, are deteriorated, and they do need to be replaced. These have been identified too. This is a little bit of a more costly repair because there's 12 of them, so many of them, around $50,000. X is part of that landing on that cap in the courtyard. This is the cap that actually goes down to the fire escape that's over that tunnel system in the attic. There's some cracking, there's some windows in the courtyard that are really old, and we could just block those in to keep the water out. And again, this would be, once we do this is something that we would monitor and make sure that we are indeed keeping the water out of the tunnel and out of the attic under the courtyard. Here's a bigger project. A vertical crack in the chimney, probably 10, 15 years ago, probably 15 years ago or so. We did have the chimney tuck pointed. That was a huge project, building scaffolding all around the chimney. So again, there's a large crack going down the side of the chimney, and that needs to be addressed sooner than later. Z is actually just something that we could take care of ourselves. It's a priority 3 item. It's just the trusses, steel trusses that are above the media center. They're exposed to the elements. You can see in picture 74 to 76 that there's just some surface rust on there, nothing structurally, but we'll take care of that surface rust and paint that. And AA, BB, CC, DD, again, our priority 4 items. Nothing structural, just something that we need to keep monitoring. So all these repairs, if we did decide to do all the repairs in tan and blue, would be, according to the estimates, around $350,000, which is a significant amount of money. But, if that money's spent, I would feel really good about the envelope of Central Campus not counting the roof. The roof has not been addressed since 1988. We've been coating the roof every year for the last 10 years. It's buying us time. And, you know, we can keep doing that. We do plan to keep on doing that for the near future. But to take care of all the little minuscule leaks, the mortar, and through the limestone caps, you know, this is really something we should do, you know, to keep the integrity of the building. So I know I went really fast there, but if you have any questions or anything else you want to talk about, it's something that this is an ongoing project. Nothing's 100% decided today. This is just kind of information for the board, you know, to kind of get you to start thinking about Central a little bit. We do plan, if the board approves, to come to the board in the coming months with an MOU for the architect. Then we'd be able to define the scope of work and give you a little bit more definitive word on, you know, the cost and exactly, you know, which projects we want to tackle. So that's.
So when was the last time you said you had a structural engineer come in and look at the building?
I'm sorry, pardon?
When was the last time something like this was done? 2000?
So in 2005, we did this, and in 2011.
Okay.
So 9 years ago, yeah, so.
So, would you say it cost us about the same amount of money, both of those times?
So 9 years ago, the only repairs we made 9 years ago were in the wooden part of the frame, structure of room 400. That was the only part that was really identified, that was something that needed to be done right away. We had some concerns up there because we saw some cracked boards and stuff that kind of got the ball rolling to get us to look at this. While they did look at all the other stuff back in 2011, there really wasn't any push or indication that, you know, we were still okay, and it was really just focusing mostly on that room 400 and the wooden attic and the wooden frame section of the 1909 part of the building. So, again, this is I think, it's encouraging, really, for, you know, 109-year-old building, whatever, that, you know, for $300,000, we can be in really good structural condition. So the other two items are a whole nother story, but I think just we'll leave that at this for tonight. So.
Somebody asked a really stupid question. What's the purpose of the chimney?
Purpose of what?
What's the purpose of the chimney? Is it the
Oh, the
heating?
chimney for the boilers.
The boilers,
Yeah,
okay.
for the boilers, yeah.
It has to be that tall.
It has to be that tall, yeah.
Here I am just.
So newer boilers, probably not, but the old boilers.
Yeah, the old boilers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
okay.
sure.
They're about 70 years old.
Yeah, that's a good question, though, yeah.
Yeah.
The parapet walls are just decorational, you know.
Right.
You know, there was talk about fixing that problem that way, but, you know, there's something to be said about changing the integrity of a 1909 building, you know. That's not something you just want to, you know, that's a big decision, yeah. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay,
You
all right,
can
thank you.
probably get a flavor from this with Bill that, you know, on this structural issue, we'll come back, we'll refine this. You know, the structural issue, because it's related to water, it's related to moisture, it's related to age, it's related to the concrete and the masonry, is probably something that the board's just gonna continue checking. You know, if you know with masonry, these kind of cracks, if our recommendation is we should go for all this, do this all in one summer, you know, it is likely down the line that you'll see new cracks and you'll see new rebar, because in one section where the rebar is falling off, it might just be that the other section isn't corroded enough, and you'll continue chasing this. But as Bill said, as a structure, you know, this thing is built to last. You know, if ever there was a phrase, you know, they don't make them like that anymore, it relates to this. You know, on the horizon, you know, are the bigger issues that, for example, like you asked Lisa about the chimney, we have a boiler system there. If we ever, knock on wood, had to replace those boilers, then we would be forced to ask a question of, do you replace it with a somewhat archaic technology, boilers, but the cost of putting an HVAC in a building this age would be, you know, make this look like really, you know, nothing significant. Or to come up to, you know, fire suppression with like a sprinkler system, or in here, we have, these are heat sensors that you're looking at, I believe. Are these heat sensors, Bill, or these look like heat sensors?
Those are smokes.
Yeah, they're smoke sensors. But to put that kind of technology in is also, you know, relatively expensive. So it might, proposed for the board, the life of a building, according to everything in Illinois in schools, has a life. A computer, 3 years, Life of a school building is 80 years, so it might provoke, thoughts about how much does the board want to continue putting into, a structure. We're always talking about that when we make a recommendation like this. Like Bill said, I think the structural pieces are fairly easy to knock out. Those other two kind of lurking out there are far more substantial for us. So that is good news, that this isn't any kind of catastrophic or walls falling down. But it's also a healthy thing to check, right, when you have a building like this structure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
Great report.
And then, Bill, if you have any questions for Bill, maintenance report, I think we continue to, I'll just, with your permission, and just go right into the maintenance report. You can see that we continue doing everything from, repairing a forklift truck at Central Campus, bleacher inspection, you might recall, a number of years ago, Crystal Lake, did a bleacher inspection, on almost a brand new set of bleachers and realized it didn't have the integrity. They had some physicists go up there and had to redo that project, and not very happy, but we had that checked. Replacing interior doors, scores table, diving board, and then fire alarm sprinkler systems. That was a fun day at the district office where the fire alarm was going off, as they checked it all the time. It was great. It was good that they were checking it. Any questions about the maintenance report? All right. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And just, I've said this before about Bill, but really all of the things that we're doing with COVID really rest on our bus drivers driving kids and Bill's custodial and maintenance staff staging everything for us to be safe. So kudos to him and his staff. I think they were one of the most disappointed people when we had to go remote and adjust to new IDPH guidelines. I think they were some of the most disappointed people because of all their work. All right.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, next we have that review of summer curriculum work.
All right, Mrs. Cristofaro. And Mrs. Jocko.
Ms. Zacco, come up here with me as well. As Mr. Dusterhoff works to get our technology up and going, I just really want to say thanks to the board for your strong support for the summer curriculum work that was done this summer. You approved $50,000 for teachers to do this work. And you saw the list of all the projects, but overwhelmingly, teacher teams focused on identifying and narrowing essential standards, answering that question, what do we want our students to know? The next step was answering the question, how will we know if they've learned it? Through the use of assessments. Assessments could be identifying as a group a test, a paper, a project that would show that the students had learned it. And now we're doing the work of what do we do when we see that students haven't learned it? And you heard some of the intervention work. So instead of focusing on all the projects and doing broad strokes, I thought, especially given your interest on at the board retreat, I thought it'd be great to really focus on the work of guidance, which again, you generously gave and supported the purchase of Naviance as a tool, and in addition, their summer curriculum project. So Beth is here today because she was an instrumental team member. She did a lot of the technology work for the team, and she's just going to give you a quick overview of the journey of the guidance team, really quick. She's going to show you the overall product, the College and Career Readiness Handbook, and then she's going to highlight one lesson, one activity, one piece of product that students would demonstrate that we have to show that we met the, how do we know they've learned it? Well, they're going to do an activity. So some of the things I just want to show you is Beth created a quick outline, but a lot of the work you're going to see up here, it's not necessarily geared for a large presentation. It's so students can have it on their devices, listen to their counselors instruct them, click links, and be interactive. So if you see a lot of text on there, just please understand, we want to show you the real product that kids are going to be using and not just a presentation. So I'm grateful for Beth to be here, and I'm going to turn it over to her.
Yes, I'm super excited to be here. I'm really very proud of the work that my team did this summer on this summer curriculum. So we began on June 16th, and we started with a bank of slides. We made the decision that we were going to use curriculum, we were going to use technology to organize our summer project. So in effect, we learned this new technology, we taught it to one another so that we could bring this new technology to students, whether we were teaching them in person or we were teaching them remotely. And then in turn, we took this summer curriculum project and taught our colleagues the technology that we learned through the process of building the curriculum project. We looked at defining the standards that our students needed to know. What did they need to know at each grade level? We used the Illinois State Board of Education College and Career Readiness Indicators. We looked at the Illinois PACE, which is the Post-Secondary and Career Expectations. And we used those to look at what do we want them to know each year in the domain of college and career. Once again, we did it so that we could, knowing that we didn't know where we were going to be, how could we do this? Our traditional method of working with students in college and career is in a study hall, in a homeroom, through Digital Pathways Classroom, where we're right there with the students. So we knew we need to build something that we can still maintain that way and have them have a really good quality experience if they were going to be doing it remotely. It was definitely challenging, but it was really exciting to build this kind of living document, which is our,
Yeah, you can. He's going to click.
Oh, he's going to click it. Which is our handbook, which this is the house of all of our college and career curriculum in the guidance department from freshman to senior year. So we started with those essential things we felt they needed to know each year. Will we add to this? Most certainly. So there are about 2 to 4 activities, lessons already designed per grade level. So the seniors definitely have the bulk of the activities because we know there's a lot more happening with the seniors as far as the college and career decision making at that place. So we started with, if we click on about,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. We started with kind of, this was just the demonstration of us collectively saying, what is this handbook going to be used for? We built a calendar, which there's a larger calendar inside, but this is by quarter what each grade level is going to learn. What are they going to know? Each lesson. And then we can go to the senior tab. And as you see, there are 4 lessons that are already either fully fleshed out. Some of them have some technology pieces we want to add to them, some voiceover, some interesting element that's going to make them more interactive in a remote setting. But as far as, would be lesson 1.
Can you link that? Can you click on that, Matt? Do you know what slide number?
So if we go to the second slide, you'll see our table of contents right here. This is the very first lesson has already gone out to students. We all have a Google Classroom. Each counselor has a Google Classroom. So these lessons have already gone out. The freshman one has gone out. This senior lesson has gone out. A sophomore one has gone out. So the senior one, we want to get it as quickly in the year as possible because we know what kind of decisions that they're going to be making. So you'll see if you can click on number 4.
Oh, number 4, sorry.
That's okay.
The Lockport guy, for
Oh, you may have to take this out of present or you're gonna hear Mr. Hammer the whole time.
Okay.
So they embedded audio over all the slides to help students so they can see it visually, but they can also hear the counselor talking them through what they need to do.
And we know at this time of the year, our students, freshman, sophomore, and junior year, have gone through different career-related activities to kind of narrow down what it is they want to do. So we know by this lesson at the beginning of senior year, we have to have an emphasis on college and college applications because we know the timeliness of it. But we're always aware and cognizant to include our students that are not on a 4-year college path. So you'll see under number 4, we've got, oh yeah, you'll have to scroll through, I forgot. Can't use those nice tabs. So this would be the information on JJC. So if you click the little thing at the bottom, and you can play Mr.
Presentation mode.
Oh, you can't?
No, I can, if I go back to presentation mode.
No, you can, then you can hear him.
students looking for a 2-year community college option, which offers an associate's degree as well as certificate programs. Our district school is Joliet Junior College. Students can start researching now on JJC's website, on their programs, their majors, as well as we will host virtual college visits with a JJC rep in the coming future.
So each slide has those embedded in them so that if we know they're at home and they're going through this presentation, they're going to at least be able to hear directly what that slide is about. We are, though, in our Google Classrooms, all of us meet with our students in our caseload. We've invited them to come to a Google Meet. So the counselors at East Campus have already done so with the seniors, invited them to go through the presentation in a Google Meet setting. I know I already had a Google Meet with my freshmen last week, and we started to go through our High School 101, which is our first lesson in our college career. So we're kind of going through it step by step. We have an exciting one this Wednesday about credits, transcripts, and GPA, trying to definitely help them to connect what they're doing every day at school. So the last slide, it ends, which most of our lessons do. It ends with a bank of activities. So this is where you can see, if you can click on applications, it's hidden.
It's down here. Hold on, give me 1 second.
It's under the super match.
Hold on. Oh. If I move it back to the screen, I can see. Applications.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta go to presentation mode. Applications.
In order to begin the post-secondary planning process with your counselor, we will need you to complete these 3 activities. The first 2 have to do with Naviance. You can see both on Supermatch and Organize Your Applications, there is quick videos to show you how to do this. But with Supermatch, it's a college search tool that will make it easy for you to explore your options and look into colleges that fit both your academic profile and what you're looking for in the college experience. We want you to finish the Supermatch and save at least 3 to 5 colleges by clicking on the heart near the college name. We also want you to organize your application.
So as you see, Mr. Pammer, that's Mr. Pammer on there, who's guiding them through step by step what they're going to do in each of those activities. At the very end, there's a Google form that the students complete that gives information right away to their counselor on what they're considering at this moment. It goes into a spreadsheet so each counselor can see that this student is already thinking, I want to look at a four-year university, or this is what I definitely know, I need help. And one of the questions is, would you like an individual Google Meet so we can talk right now about where you're at, what kind of needs do you have? So that's very much in the moment data and feedback that the counselors are getting. Through Naviance, just having them complete the activity tells us, we can see in Naviance that they've been through it and they've completed the super match. And over time, we are going to have, and I think I tacked it on to the back side of that for the board. It would be very hard to see. This is actually current information on students that completed and listed the universities they're interested in attending. So it gives a nice big chart. It gives us the universities, and then it tells us all the students who already know they're going to be applying to those universities. Over time, as we get that information, we'll be able to have scattergrams in Naviance that will show us over time where are the majority of our students applying to as far as college goes.
So I jokingly say this to the board, she'll know what I'm talking about. Like, I could have brought in Angela's timer for Beth, because as you can see, she's super excited and really passionate about it. And so I gave her like, hey, we can't talk all night. The board's got a huge agenda. But if you do have questions for her, I know she's happy to answer them. I'm so thankful that she was able to come and show you a little bit, even though we were having some technology glitches, of the robust lesson plans they put together. And one thing I will just share with you that I thought was awesome, we keep talking about this, that this time period in education is going to shift what we do moving forward. And that's what Beth really said to me when we spoke about what would she want to present. She just continually said how this will probably shift more personalized attention from the guidance department, because she said, you know, that we'd give large-scale presentations and you couldn't really tell were students getting it. And so she talked about how now they can do it at their own speed, they can go back and review, they can do this information right from their counselors. And the report that she's talking about, I can share it with Bob and he can share it with all of you if you're interested in seeing the Naviance report that gives you where students are going to go.
It's just a preliminary on the students who've completed the activity right now. It was a pretty real in time that, and we are all learning in our department more about Naviance. So we're at those stages of really seeing the ins and out. We meet with a rep from Naviance. We can actually write to them and meet anytime we want. We do a Google Meet. If we have a question, if we're not sure how we're going to do something in Naviance, and we have hours that we were allotted to kind of go through and get more instruction. And they really advised us on what to start with, that we needed to start a little smaller and really understand what we're doing in the program to get it to the place where we probably all want it to be.
So you said the first lesson just went out. Is that correct?
The first lesson, well, the lesson for the seniors went out a couple weeks ago.
Okay, and then how's the turnaround been for the seniors so far?
Well, we do know we've had pretty good turnout with them completing those forms with the counselor. We do know that our advertising, which we're working on consistently, we're putting it on the Sunday announcements. We're trying every avenue possible. Is to get them to kind of connect with us during that Google Meet time, which is a period of time they have off in their schedule. So we're constantly trying to figure out how are we going to really nudge them to get those things completed. So we definitely like to see more turnaround, but we are revisiting that at every angle to see how we can make sure they've all got that completed.
No, and I understand where you're coming from, because working obviously in education, we're struggling with, counselors sending things out and then the kids don't necessarily look at it like a class and maybe something I should do. So, yeah, I was just interested in your perspective on that.
Yes, definitely. I know for myself, I've been meeting with some of my online learners, and that call home sometimes is when parents put it on the calendar. So we're making sure that we send things out on the Sunday announcements. We're sending announcements. We have the ability to do that through an Infinite Campus as a counselor to our whole caseload. So, and that can go to parents and students. So we're trying every angle to make sure we get them there.
Did you send out the freshman plan already?
Yes.
It's very impressive.
Yes, we did.
I like the senior advice to freshmen.
Yes,
I want to
that-
click on it, but I'm afraid that I'll be too loud.
Yeah, that,
Somebody be talking.
Yeah.
that was super awesome. That was me
Super
learning Flipgrid, and I got in touch with Katie Dykes, or Kishline, who
Okay.
now is teaching the career internship students, and she was willing to work with me, and
Yeah, super awesome. It
Yes.
was- Yeah, I didn't click on everything, but I was clicking through it as you were talking. I was like, this is really cool.
I also
Yeah.
appreciate,
Yeah.
the creativity of all,
Yeah.
all teachers, and I include guidance, or school counselors as teachers, have had to try to figure out how do you deliver your content, maybe when you're not face to face with students, but still, but personalized in a way.
Pretty
so.
engaging.
Mhm.
You know, I was engaged. I was like, I want to listen, but I'm
Mhm.
listening too.
well, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, because
You're welcome. Nice job.
Yeah, great job.
group did a lot of
You guys did a
just
lot of work.
phenomenal work. Yeah.
I can't wait to see some of the reports.
Yes.
Hopefully we get these, seniors are like out there, right? They're ready to go. They want to be engaged, but then again, they're out there. Your starting point is always your freshman, and make it a habit, right? So this should be fun to watch in the next 4 years for you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Well done. Really excellent. Yeah. Thanks so much. And sorry for the LED panel. We had someone look at it today. It was working, and then of course, like all things, now it's not working. So sorry about
It
the visual
happens. All right, next we have Infinite Visions Finance, HR software conversion update. Oh, that would be Mr. Right? Or-
I wrote it. It's
Okay.
technically
there. Come
me.
on down,
All right.
Mrs. Croy. You've got a number of things right in a row.
Yes.
Right in a row. And if you want to duet Mr. Kandari, I think you know a thing or two about Infinite Visions too. You don't have to. You don't have to.
So this report is just intended to tell the board where we're at. I mean, obviously, anyone who's been involved in a software conversion on their own at their companies or wherever, hopefully understands that it's a huge project. The pros and cons of it are you're rebuilding, you're resetting, you're reevaluating your processes at the same time. You're including, in order to make it a successful conversion, you're including the whole team, which takes more time to get some things done sometimes, but good conversations have come out of it, and we have a very good trainer with Infinite Visions, so she's been immensely helpful with helping us see where we're going and giving us recommendations of what other districts do to maybe help us spark ideas. So we're kind of in the heat of it, in the middle of it right now. We've gotten half of our data uploaded. We're working on the other half. And then there's a lot of setup pieces. So the way that this software is designed is that we get our raw data in there for employee demographics, vendors, things like that, and then we set up how we want the payroll to process, and how do we want the screens to look for what data the personnel is tracking. How do we want the interaction to be with the subsystem and the Infinite Vision software, or the application system and the Infinite Vision software. So all those things take time to learn about, configure, set up, and eventually we'll get to testing. So, no. Yeah, no, we are not there yet. We have training again next week with some more human resource setup. And then in a few weeks after that, we have some accounts payable and vendor setup and purchasing setup. Then we have some payroll training, and then we have some testing. So we're getting there, slowly but surely, but we're getting there. The nice part about having the full team involvement is that the full team has broken up the pieces. So all of us are taking our little bits and pieces of the world and entering things and configuring things. You know, we're basically getting a couple of days of training, and then here's your to-do list out of that training, divide and conquer. And then something that I'm really learning to appreciate from an experienced larger company is the way they've set up the hours for this training. It's not just, here's how you do it, here's your to-do list, good luck. She stays on with us. If she was here, she would be looking over our shoulder helping us. But she stays on the Google, we use, I don't even remember what we use right now, but no, they're using WebEx or something. I don't remember what they're using. Mine blank there, but we stay on together as a team while we're working. So we may sit silently, but she will see if one of us pops up and says, okay, I have a question. Okay, share your screen. Let's all see what you're doing. And we work through them. So it's been very successful. And she's been super accommodating and said, okay, if you need me to take a share, I've definitely been known to help enter things myself. So she's been very helpful from that perspective as well. I don't know if the board has any questions about this implementation. It is a big piece. I mean, it's a big chunk of our software. But our team is pretty optimistic. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be able to do more than what we had. We're going to be, I think our employees ultimately, because the employee portal where they access their paychecks and things like that is going to be much more robust. We're going to be able to allow them.
Do you have to bring history over?
Yes and no. We will bring some history over just for the ease of looking up things, but it won't really be in the same area. We're going to rebuild basically going forward. But I will have to dump some historical data into some tables so that if we need to look things up, we can.
You can.
Because inevitably we'll need to look up somebody's sick days from 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
So we will bring that data over, but it'll be kind of in a historical archive part of the software as opposed to in the live data.
Well, your whole team is learning how to be a business systems analyst.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are learning a lot more. So the last time around, I was involved with implementing digital schools as well. And with that implementation, I feel like not as many of them were involved in understanding the system and why the system was set up the way it was and what it does and how it impacts all the other parties. And now I feel like they're all getting a lot better understanding of that, which ultimately, you know, Tony and I will see that it should make our two departments continue to increase and improve communication, because obviously HR and the business end both need to really communicate well to make things run smoothly. So I think that's all going to be to our benefit. I don't know if anybody has any other questions about it, but
My only recommendation, not just testing, validate.
Right.
Numbers to numbers. I mean,
well,
it's
our
crazy.
expectation is to run. Here's another bonus of this big company with good training set up. We expect to run side-by-side payrolls. Obviously, payroll is the biggest piece of this,
Yes, you
right?
do.
You can't pay people wrong.
Mhm.
You definitely don't want to. So we will be running payrolls in both systems to do exactly that, to validate that every number in our current system is what we get in the new system. And if it isn't, why? How do we fix that?
Okay.
That'll take some time, but then beyond that, our first live payroll, actually I think our first two live payrolls in the new system, the trainer will be with us to run those. So if we do run into a problem, she will be there to help us.
Okay.
So in theory, we should be running 3-4 payrolls in the new system, all with this assistance of the training staff.
Good.
So I'm very much looking forward to that. So.
I'm sure you're tired.
A lot of work, a
It's
lot of
time
hours.
consuming, but
Lot
again,
of
like I
hours.
said, if I didn't have the staff, if we didn't have our staff to help us, Tony as well, with the addition of Frankie in there and Michelle, who was hired a year or two ago, we have really strong staff. We
Good.
do, that are
That's awesome.
willing to jump in and help us anywhere that we need it, so they're helping a lot, so.
Great to hear that. Good leadership. Yeah, good leadership. Good job. Thanks.
I don't know if anybody has any other questions on the capital expenditure thing. that's next. So and then the union dues is an annual, so the next couple information reports while I'm up here. Capital projects is the typical monthly report, so if anybody has any questions on that. And then the union dues is just the annual certification of what the amounts are for the new year, so.
Mhm.
We just present that as an information report to the board.
Yep.
I guess I have one more, don't I?
Yeah, just
The last one is also an
Meetings,
annual
administrator
report.
and teacher
That's
salary
right.
report.
Yeah, that's a legal requirement that we have to present to the board. So annually, again, Tony's office and mine, we have to do the EIS report to the State Board of Education. His portion of the report is on the positions, and our portion of the report is on the funding, right, on the salaries. And then what happens is that EIS report, once it's submitted, gets turned into a report that the board sees and will ultimately get put on our website, because it's a legal requirement for us to present it to you, and then submit it to the state. And then in addition, the other legal requirement is about the IMRF employees whose total compensation package is over $75,000. So that listing is at the end of the EIS report as well. So if anyone has any questions, I can answer anything on those as well.
And that just falls in the Open Meetings Act as your responsibility to disclose transparently, decisions you made in terms of salaries, compensation, all those kind of things.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's a lot of work.
It is.
And a lot of great work.
All right. Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session to confidentially discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees under Chapter 5 ILCS 120/2C2, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of that particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting under Chapter 5 of the ILCS 120/2C11, and the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity under ILCS 120/2C1.
I'll make that motion.
Is that by Mr. Lewandowski? Or, okay, motion by Mr. Michael Lewandowski.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Shaw. All right, roll call.
Vickers? Yes. Ari?
Yes.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. And at this time, we'll just take a 5-minute break.
All right.